Thank you for joining us today. My name is Tatiana Rommel. I am the Associate Director for the MCiM program. The Masters in Clinical Informatics Management at Stanford is truly a unique program that sits at the intersection of healthcare, technology, and business. This is a one-year hybrid full-time degree. It's designed to accommodate working professionals and brings together a diverse and cross-disciplinary cohort at different stages of their careers. This mix not only enriches classroom learning, but also builds a very supportive community where students can grow together. Our ultimate goal is to prepare leaders who are ready to transform the healthcare and expand access through innovation and collaboration. So again, thank you for joining us today for another session of Meet the Experts series. These events are designed to give you a candid inside look at the MCiM program through the voices of our alumni, faculty, and mentors, sharing the kinds of insights you won't find anywhere else. In today's session, the great debate, MCiM versus MBA, we will hear from alumni who faced that very decision, choosing between a traditional MBA and the Stanford MSIM program, or students who have done both, and we hope their reflections will be helpful to you. We are delighted to have this conversation moderated by the MCiM professor Tip Kin, who teaches principles of business strategy and also holds an MBA. With that, I would like to hand it over to Tip, who will get us started and introduce our panelists today. So thank you, and Tip, you can take it away.
Great. I hope everyone can hear me. Yes. Great. As the only person on this panel who is not admitted to the MCiM program, I am humbled to moderate this panel. Why don't we start with some introductions, starting with Amanda.
Thanks, Tip, and great to see you. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Wei. I'm based in San Francisco. I'm currently the CEO of Cognificence, which is a digital therapeutics company where we use virtual reality to treat chronic pain. We're currently in pain clinics across 4 states. My background is in neuroscience and, of course, clinical informatics. And before being in this operational chapter of my career, I was both a researcher in the neuroscience space and then spent about a decade on the venture capital side of things. So happy to talk about all of that and excited to dive in.
Great. Balaji, why don't you go next?
Okay, thank you, Tip. Hi, everyone. My name is Balaji Anna. I'm based in Dallas, Texas. I'm a very recent graduate of this program. I practice strategy, what Tip teaches in the class. I've been a strategy consultant and a managing director for Ernst & Young for the last 11, 12 years. I have now both MBA and MCiM, so looking forward to this chat.
Great. Natalie?
Hi, I'm Natalie Koh, and greetings from Singapore. It's 8 a.m. Thursday. I see a few Singaporean names in the audience. I am a senior consultant cardiologist at an academic center in Singapore called the National Heart Center. And I have both the MCiM and the MBA and pursued both simultaneously during those dark days of COVID in 2021. I'm part of the inaugural batch. I'm also co-founder and serve presently as medical advisor to Southeast Asia's largest digital healthcare group. We became the largest when we acquired the second largest B2B platform in Indonesia 10 months ago. Great to meet everybody.
Great. Finally, our final, last but not least, Tony, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Tip. Hi, everyone. My name is Tony Ferro. I'm a 25 grad from the MCiM program, so just last year. Currently, I live in LA and work at Amgen, which is a biotech down in the LA area. I'm a global program manager for all commercial aspects of Maritide, which is Amgen's developmental GLP-1 drug. My background is a little bit unique in that I spent about 10 years in the Navy as a pilot, worked in tech for a while before finding my way to Amgen. And I hold both my MBA and obviously graduated from MCiM, like I said. Okay.
All right. Why don't we start with Amanda? I guess in some stereotypical way, you represent somebody that would have been a kind of an archetypical candidate for an MBA program. Can you talk a little bit about your thought process as to why you chose the MCiM path versus heading down the MBA path?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess extra fun fact about me was I had started medical school before starting my career in venture. So I was in an 8-year medical program at Brown University, very much thought I was going to finish the med school thing. Really just thought it was going to be a year or two off when I went to a firm called Emerson Collective to help launch their healthcare firm, and completely fell in love with venture and building companies from that angle. I came to MCiM because after about 4 or 5 years at that firm, I was seeing AI, informatics, machine learning, all the buzzwords play a really big role in the work that I was doing. And I wanted to be a bit more of a technical investor, as well as, decide like, was that the firm that I wanted to stay at? We were completely oncology focused, was thinking about investing more broadly in a bit more later stage. Initially, I'd say, and I think Tip, you made this point, like I think as a profile, like someone coming from venture, maybe to do an MBA is a very typical path. I think for me, because I was at a firm I loved, I was in an industry I was really passionate about, and was actually just looking to become better at what I was doing, and loved that MCiM could be done in simultaneously with the work I was doing. I really didn't want to leave work. I didn't want to take the time off. I just wanted to build upon what I was doing. And so I came across MCiM actually because I was looking for very specific classes that I thought would supplement what I was going to be doing. And Stanford was right next door. And the LinkedIn algorithm, I think, worked. And I found the MCiM program, and I was like, wow, these are all of the classes that I was looking at, and it's in one program, and I can still work. This very much seems like a no-brainer. I think probably maybe the fact that I had shut down med school and had, at some point I'm going to do grad school in the brain was a part of that process. But overall, I'd say being able to do it at the same time as my work, not having to take that time off. And I think for me, I saw an MBA as a chance to like pivot careers, or like take time off, try things that were very different. And I truly like knew I wanted to be in healthcare, knew I wanted to be a little bit more technical, and wanted to really just supercharge what I was doing. I think if I had any doubts on what I was doing, I probably would have done an MBA, or if I wanted to switch over to climate, or if I wanted to, at the time, maybe like found something or like leave venture, I think that would have been a harder decision.
Yeah, great. Yeah, panel full of low achievers, I'm sure, of folks that really. Let me turn my attention to my friend Tony here. Tony, when in ancient times when I got my MBA, this was pre-Huntsman Hall days at Wharton, when the architecture of the buildings I attended was like 70s brutalist French bus station, not the beautiful space that's in Philly now. Tony, you kind of, in generalizing again here, like I did with Amanda, you represented the kind of fellow student that annoyed the heck out of me. Always had your stuff together, did all your problem sets, joined all these clubs and stuff like that when I was just looking for free pizza and beer at recruiting events. Talk a little bit about, you have the experience in both programs, the peer groups that you came across in your MBA program and then the MCiM program, similarities and contrasts, if you can.
Yeah, thanks. I think they were both great groups of people, different in that MCiM individuals were obviously much more focused on healthcare. My MBA, I thought Amanda's point about like MBAs being a great switching type mechanism, was so spot on, and that's how I used it. I transitioned from the military to tech with an MBA, and so I think you find people kind of all over industries coming into an MBA, which is good and bad. I mean, for me, I didn't really know what I wanted to do coming out of the military, so it was perfect at that time. Fast forward 5-10 years or whatever it was, I had found myself my way to Amgen. I love healthcare. I love pharma. It's been an absolute blast for me, and I know this is where I'm going to spend the rest of my career in this domain. And so what I loved about MCiM is it really focused everything towards healthcare. And the business classes, like your class tip was like, it was all about healthcare, and it was all about the aspects of business that I wanted to learn about. So I found that actually very complimentary, and the cohort was just like magnificent. I really learned a lot. Like Balaji was in my cohort, him and I worked together a ton, and he probably drug me through the whole program. He has so much wisdom. So yeah, it was a great time.
Great. Yeah, I want to say Balaji for last, but another good turn to Natalie. Natalie, I stopped counting how many degrees you actually have, but you know, whereas I think there is a stereotype of the MBA, it's just the mechanical next thing to do, right? So you work for a bank or a consulting firm for a little while, and then, you know, and I just speak from my personal experience, I didn't want to do that anymore, so I went to apply to get an MBA. It seems like the from my observation of the folks that are in MCiM have to make a really deliberate choice to actually go down that path. You've obviously had a lot of options and a lot of different crossroads that you, as all the panelists, could have. Can you talk a little bit about what made you choose the MCiM program? Given the fact that you've had lots of other academic accomplishments, and what was that experience like?
So, hi, Amanda. It's so nice to see you again. I think the difference between probably Amanda and Tony and myself is that I started as a clinician, and I am still a full clinician. I just counted, I've worked in the system for 16 years, including my undergrad medical degree. That's 21 years of being a doctor. I'm 40 this year. So how I fell into MCiM was a matter of timing, as well as location. So I had already commenced my MBA because in a digital health startup that I co-founded, that put me in an entrepreneurial position. And I woke up one day and I actually asked my dad, who's a banker, for help, and how to read a P&L. I'm like, I need accounting 101. We don't learn this in medical school. And he told me, go watch some TikTok. He's busy. So I confided in my mother, and my mother said, yeah, why don't you just go to school? And I said, okay, why not? So I applied for business school. And then 6 months into the MBA, an opportunity arose for me to pursue advanced training as a Stanford cardiology fellow. And it dovetailed very nicely with the MCiM program that I had been Googling. It was the inaugural year. When I saw what was being taught, I realized it was MBA, but it was MBA light, but with a very precise segment into digital health, which at that time, Tip, I don't know if you can remember, this is pre-Gen AI. Digital health and telemedicine were still new things in Southeast Asia. People didn't have the language to even understand what it meant to have interoperability between hospitals. So when I saw the Stanford program that Kevin had put together, I was so impressed. And I said, oh, this would give me the language to communicate what was missing and why we existed as a startup. And the startup's name is White Coat. So immediately signed for it, interviewed, applied and did it. Learned so much from my classmates like Amanda, so many of whom I still keep in touch with today. The reason people ask me, how did you juggle both an MBA and an MCiM? And it was the magic of COVID and also time zones. Singapore is 15 hours ahead. So what I would do would be to attend MCiM classes in the daytime to evening time in Stanford, have a quick dinner with my classmates, go home and pull an all-nighter for my MBA classes. So, and at the same time on the weekdays, do the cardiology fellowship with Prof. Kuhn Niemann in Stanford Health. So yeah, it was a product of my ambition and also a career that was very unique in being a cardiologist specialist, super specialist, plus a digital health entrepreneur.
Okay, all righty then. All right, Balaji, finally to you, my friend. You and I sort of click the same demographic checkbox, I think. We probably both own T-shirts that are probably older than Amanda. You've recruited many classes of folks that are graduates of programs like MCiM and MBA programs. Talk a little bit about, I want to hear obviously about your experience as a student of an MCiM program, but also talk a little bit, if you can, about the kind of the profiles of people that graduate from each program, similarities, differences, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I'll start with why I actually chose to do both the first time MBA and then subsequently this MCiM program. Like Amanda said, this was my S curve, right? So I had made 2 S curves in my life, 2 career shifts. I was a product director at the Oracle Corporation, launching the very first Oracle Financial ERP really long time back. And then I was a consultant for the World Bank for 7-8 years. And one day I decided, you know what, I have to become a business strategist. And I decided to go pursue my MBA. So that was my first S curve. What I learned during MBA is really a good breadth-wise skills. I learned about how to read P&L statement for a bank, Natalie, and from there to learning about healthcare, very limited, and consumer and retail industry. I was really good applying strategic principles across various sectors. That's the confidence I had with which I became a management consultant. And I think I spent about 10-12 years working across sectors and then developing some areas of expertise in healthcare. Last 6 to 7 years, what I have done specifically is I'm an advisor to most of top 10, top 15 pharma and medtech companies when they decide to launch a new platform, global platform, or when they decide to launch a new business unit, or when they decide to launch a new something globally. And they usually call me and I have a chat with them. So as part of now working as a managing director, I recruit across various schools. I go to MBA schools, I recruit. I look for people who have keen breadth-wise skill set, who are generalist, who can really be brought in from associate to analyst and who can build their career. Now, one aspect I didn't talk about in my introduction is the reason I decided now to do a MCiM program is because I decided I have made enough companies successful. I want to launch my own startup. And that was the motivation for me to join this MCiM program. So like Amanda said, I came to this program with an explicitly specific list of courses I want to pursue and skill sets I wanted to pursue. And I think I've done really well in the last 12 months acquiring many of the skill sets. About like 30 to 45 days away from launching my startup right now. So I am recruiting right now from MCiM program and potentially from the next class of cohort of MCiM program for my startup. And I have the experience of building a program based on these 2 programs, MBA and MCiM programs. I look for candidates and I look for people. So looking forward to that. Yeah.
Great. Well, I think, needless to say, Stanford represents a pretty unique platform to your point, Balaji, the entrepreneurial opportunities. The connection to Silicon Valley, connection to Amanda's colleagues on Sand Hill Road, the GSB, et cetera, et cetera. A question for any of you and all of you, how unique was that relative for the MCiM program relative to what you might have gotten at the GSB next door? Were there any distinguishing factors with respect to the MCiM program, both in terms of the access you've gotten as well as the opportunities that you were able to see?
I'll jump in, and probably Tony and I, we did this classes together. So as part of this MCiM program, you will have the opportunity to access specific set of electronic health records and personal health records from Stanford Medical Center that you can extract, you can apply. you can extract, you can apply. I don't believe that you will get that kind of exposure and experience through GSP programs or any other programs, right? You get not only access to data, you also apply this through this project work that you're doing with your cohort. And then your professor is going to come and tell you every 2 weeks what's going right, how to do this right. And that actually was a foundational thing for my startup. And that gave me a lot of learnings as to how exactly I need to be thinking through patient record. Don't look at it as just as simple as a vector database, or don't look at it as a discrete element. And there are specific techniques to look at the data and gather insights from the patient's records. I'll pass.
I'll take a different angle to that. I'd say what I noticed the most, the fact that I'd say like our specific cohort being so intimate and having people working, in real time, having, 1/3, at least for my cohort, the inaugural one was like 1/3 was physicians, basically all of them having worked and we're currently working at Stanford, 1/3 coming from the business side and 1/3 coming from more of the tech side. A lot of MCiM is like group projects, very like real world scenarios where you're working with different folks with different backgrounds. And I'd say being able to have access to like real time of like, this is what I'm seeing now, or that this is a relevant problem right now, was really impactful. And just to see how others could like pull in other clinicians, again, like people that they were working with. I think that feels a little bit different than, in your MBA and you're like, oh, let me talk with someone I used to work with, or let me like connect with someone that's like an alumni, or someone connecting through like a professor. We had that access as well, but I think that day to day real world interactions with folks that you want to be interacting with and would be in whatever future career you're pursuing. It was helpful, as well as like if you were looking for a job and tech, like you could get a very quick referral. If you want to go work at Flatiron, want to go work at Atropos, like it wouldn't be someone who had left the company. It was someone there in real time. So that seemed very, very unique to me.
Maybe I'll add to the exposure in the MCiM program to the faculty is remarkable. I mean, the senior experience and that they all bring to the table is just like amazing. Being able to talk about that and leverage their experience, like it was awesome. I really enjoyed interacting with all of the teachers and thought that the level of instruction was very, very high.
Yes, and I think to echo everybody, I think what we had being a very small class, we only had 24 of us, was really, a lot of dedicated time from the faculty. I remember one of my favorite classes, aside from yours, Tip, was also David Shanker's class on healthcare operations. And he helped me with Q theory. And he even volunteered a few PhDs to help us fix a few of the Q issues we were facing in my startup. And I was able to actually leverage our class project to solve it. He taught us one class, I worked on it the second and presented it at the third, and with very clear ROI. So that's just one example of that, that dedication that you get from a small cohort with tutors who are very into healthcare itself. I audited several classes at the GSB out of curiosity and interest. And I will have to say that coming from a healthcare background, it was wonderful exposure, met many people on Sand Hill Road as well, and just imbibed, a lot of the Stanford culture of making it happen and, believing in your dreams. I think that was very helpful as well. But I think nothing beats that one-to-one time with your tutors and the deeper networks that you have from being exposed to a smaller cohort regularly over the course of a year, and the lifelong friendships.
Great. Let's stay on that theme. Let's pivot a little bit. Obviously, whether it's an MBA or the MCiM program, it doesn't come without sacrifices. The fact that you have to travel and you're away from your friends and family, every other Friday and Saturday in the MCiM program. Talk a little bit about how each of you were able to balance, you know, your personal lives, and the fact that, you know, this wasn't just a coterm 5th year. You had real lives, you know, and had to divert and make things work. And for, you know, potential students who might be, oh boy, I don't know, you know, I'm busy enough as it is. How did you guys make it all work?
I can go first. I guess I can be a little bit blunt of it was extremely hard. And the fact that Natalie and I were in a cohort where for half of it, it was COVID and there was no social life. It was like this was our social life. It was actually like the fact that we got to be in class, even though we were wearing masks for 8 hours straight, like that was very exciting to be out of the house. And then I think all of us, again, we were the first cohort, so I think there's been a lot of tweaks made to make certain things more manageable. But I remember the winter quarter or semester when we all started having real lives again on top of like the big practicum. Like I think mental health really went down because we were trying to do it all. And I think by the end, I think most of us had figured it out more or less. Some of us maybe less so, depending on our situation. A big part of it was actually like leaning into the community of MSIM and like making that social life, being at Stanford and being with this cohort and really leaning into it. I had not lived on the campus for the first half and did the second half. And so if, you know, if I were to do this again, like living on campus as a part of this, and just truly dedicating yourself and your free time to like make the most of being a part of the Stanford community, I think made a big difference. Instead of like trying to drive back up to San Francisco to see those people, like they were still there, and they would come to me sometimes. But it definitely like while there's a lot going on, it's definitely manageable. And I think if you go in knowing exactly what you want to get out of it, like it's a very specific cohort of people that are choosing to make this decision. So you'll find the people you make friends with, like you make friends with them quickly because they're all the same type of crazy as you. And I think if you have some ideas of what you're trying to get out of it, I'm not saying not to do the reading, but you can really prioritize like what is going to make the most impact or where you want to take your career after the program or even during the program. And so I think at the beginning, you know, like you said, Tip, it's a lot of overachievers. And the beginning, I remember one of the folks in my cohort, he was a oncology physician and we were working on a PowerPoint together. And he was like, oh, if we like spend 2 more hours on this, we'll probably get like an A instead of like a B plus. And I'm like, you should go save some lives. Like I can go work on the PowerPoint for like maybe an extra 20 minutes, but like it was really, I'd say like a light bulb moment for him of like, where you're all so used to like being in these programs and like getting the perfect grade and doing the work. But it's at the end of the day, it's like, what is actually going to impact what you want to get out of the program? So that mentality shift, I think helped a lot.
I can echo most of those comments. I probably will add, once you enter into Stanford, you really realize how many more classes, how many more networking opportunities, how many more programs you can be part of. I had completely underestimated it. Even though I went and did my MBA at another US school, this was just truly phenomenal. So it hit me. And one of the best things I did was right from the get-go, I decided that I will be at campus. So that was a good decision. And I would highly encourage everyone else to do that. Almost all of the 365 days that I was at the campus, I woke up every single day morning 3:30 a.m. And I was actually on video working with my clients from 4 a.m. because that was 7 Eastern. So all 365 days, I woke up at 3:30 and I was ready 4 o'clock, and including Saturdays and Sundays. But I had to be so disciplined that I had to optimize between attending some of the elective classes I really wanted to do versus traveling to my client. As a partner, I did have some flexibility, but there were times, several weeks, in fact, where I had to be in all three time zones, like Eastern, Central, and West Coast, every single week for several weeks, and I had to like miss one exam in one of the courses. So It's very hard, but if you decide to pursue this, you can make it happen. You're seeing examples from all of us, and your teammates are amazing support. And Tony and I actually, we work 3 quarters out of the 4. So he knows extremely well what I'm speaking about, that your teammates are going to be so supportive of what you need to do. And they're very flexible. So you can make it happen. It's not easy, but there's huge reward if you can make it happen.
Okay, before Tony goes, I just have to tell the audience, Tatiana, I think we need to have a separate panel of the slackers in the class because this is pretty intimidating, and people might not apply. This is a sampling of the alumni that are pretty impressive to be sure. But holy smokes, yeah, you guys are all nuts. I just have to say. All right, Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, so I couldn't move up there. I live in LA, like I mentioned. I have a 4 and 6-year-old, and my wife is an attorney at a big law firm, and so that really wasn't in the cards for me. So I traveled up every Thursday night or every other Thursday night and stayed until Saturday night. And so yeah, it was definitely like difficult in our family, but we made it work. Really, like I kind of set some boundaries, like the off weekends I basically said no homework, and I made up all that time. Either I, like Balaji, I got up every morning, not at 3:30, but I got up at like 4:30 or 5 and worked from about 5 until 8, and then worked at night and cleaned up anything that I didn't do. I was like extremely disciplined in like budgeting my time. I try and be like very organized. I probably annoyed Balaji a lot with how I scheduled things out. And so anyways, like it seemed to work. Like I was effective. I didn't feel like super stressed out, like I'll be honest. And I loved it. It was great. It was like such an add-on to my life, and it was wonderful.
Natalie, I'm just going to take the liberty of not asking you because I'm scared of what the answer might be.
I don't know. It didn't feel hard. That's not what you were expecting. It's the truth, though. I will tell you the secret. I was asset light and liability free. I had no kids, no partner at the time. My parents are all healthy. My grandmother stayed healthy, so that was a huge blessing, and that allowed me full focus.
Okay. Well, let me just say, let's get out my soapbox for a minute. My observation of you folks. There is a saying that youth is wasted on the young. And I did my MBA at a time, I was an associate at a consulting firm for 2.5 years, applied and, got my MBA as soon as I could. It was just the thing to do. And I remember sitting in some of these classes like managing people, which ended up being the most important topic that you could get in an MBA. And at the time, I was kind of, oh, what is this stuff? This soft, so give me my options theory, give me my fixed income, give me my securities analysis. And there were a lot of folks like me, frankly, and I think there still are people who mechanically are moving through their career, and the MBA is the kind of thing to do. By contrast, it seems like no one stumbles into the MCiM program. Each student that is in an MCiM class has made a deliberate choice in their successful career, not to pivot, but to actually supercharge their careers a little bit, and to add to their successes. And so, who you go to battle with, and I don't mean that in a to make light of make it a militaristic thing, but who you go to the field with, I think matters a lot. And I think what I've seen in each of the now 5 cohorts is that the mutually supportive, everyone made a choice to be there, a deliberate one with options versus kind of tumbling into it. And I think that makes a big difference, if I may, with how you guys treat the program, the amount of energy you bring to it, and the commitment that you show. So kudos to all of you. All right, so we're about halfway through the hour. So let me kind of make this a more of an open-ended question versus I've run out of scripted questions. How about that? How about for each of you, what's the one thing that you would say to a prospective student?
I would say, I think again, I don't know how things have changed since the first cohort, but a big part of the program is the practicum. And this is a project that you work on throughout, and it can be on anything that you want to do. It could be research, it could be starting a company, it could be interning for a company that you'd be excited to work for, just learning really something that around how you're going to make your mark on health. And I think going in, I was a lot more focused on like general classes and general learnings. And I think also, again, like being the first year, I think honestly, a lot of us didn't even know the practicum was a part of the program. But I'd say like go in, like do your research on what this practicum could be and have some ideas of ways that you would want to work or things that you would want to build. I think the program is great to continue to encourage these ideas. But with this program only being 1 year, I'd say maybe also like the difference between this and an MBA, like you don't really have like a summer off to go intern somewhere and purely dedicate your time somewhere. More honestly, at the MBA, you have like 2 summers to go and explore and work. You have 1 year, and you can choose one thing, you can choose multiple things for your practicum, but that time as like a student where you can just like cold email someone and be like, hey, I'm a student at Stanford Med. Like, I'd love to work for you for free and do this project, which could be something that you could then use to pivot your career or just really accelerate your learning. That is like, I think one of the most powerful parts about the program is that student at Stanford stamp that you have. And I'd say like, try to dream up all the ways that you want to use it, people you want to cold reach out to, work for, learn from, like, and I'd say the earlier you can do that, the more you can make the most of that because you truly just have 1 year to do that.
Great.
I can go next. It's great if you know what exactly you want to do. Like in my case, I knew that I want to be a founder, startup owner. So it's okay if you don't know this, right? You're going to find so numerous opportunities, but right or wrong, come with a specific goal. Your approach to how you reach your goal could be different. And you also have the ability to switch it as many times as you need to, but come with a purpose. Then you're going to unlock so many opportunities for yourself and you will feel it so rewarding. I feel like I kind of was trying to think about 2 different opportunities. So I wasted almost half a quarter and then I said, you know what, I'm going to stick to just being a startup founder. And then it was just very clear to me what classes I needed to do, where all I needed to spend my energy. So come with an idea. I know some of my classmates who at least twice they changed their mindset as to how they needed to do it, and everybody has been very happy with how they approach the classes.
I can go. I would say take advantage of the ample resources at Stanford. They have so many resources to do whatever it is you're passionate about. At my undergrad and where I did my MBA, like they were great schools and they had lots of resources, but honestly, like I've never seen anything like it, like at Stanford. It was unparalleled in my opinion. And the level of instruction and help and learning available to you outside of the classroom is just truly remarkable. So take advantage of it.
I think being part of Stanford and eventually transitioning into alumni, I think the power of weak ties and the networks and the friendships that you build in this year will truly be life-changing. I would say if you, like Balaji says, if you go in with very laser-like focus, that works. But also, if you went in at a transition point and you want to broaden your horizons, this is also a perfect time. So I would say, to amend this point, I would think leveraging this year, using that at stanford.edu email address to truly reach out to people that you wouldn't otherwise have had an opportunity to, especially if you came from the other side of the world like I did, would really help you grow. If not career-wise, then mentally and personally.
Yeah, I just have to give relief to my current students as well as prospective students. If you don't have exactly the one or two things that you want to do, that's okay. If you don't know what your practicum is going to be yet, that's okay. There's a lot of time left on the clock. And so I don't want folks coming out of this call panicking. It's going to be just fine. All right, Amanda, I know you have to go. So any final words of wisdom?
I would say if you want to get the most out of this, or if you're choosing between the MBA and this, like if you're in healthcare and you want to continue to be in healthcare, if you want to pivot into healthcare, I do think this is probably the optimal program for you. You can, of course, get a healthcare, make your own program and find your healthcare people within the MBA program. But I would say like the way that this is streamlined and the intention that was put behind this to really build, this next generation of folks in healthcare that are building, including informatics and what they're doing, or just whatever side you're on, physician, business, or tech, like I spoke to multiple people and made friends with multiple people at the GSB while in the program, and I think they wish that they had known about the MCiM program before deciding to do that MBA. And so, yeah, I guess I do have to jump in a few minutes, but feel free. I'll leave my email to message me if there's any follow-up questions. I'd say like take a look at the classes if they excite you. Happy to talk about that and let you know what to expect.
Thank you, Amanda. Okay, I don't know, Tatiana, if we can do this, we probably can. Is there a way for us to open it up for general questions from the audience?
Yes, we have a few more minutes, and if anybody would like to ask a question, they can just raise their hands or type it on the chat. And we already have a question on chat. If you would like, I can read it out. Or yeah. So Amita is asking. She's a full-time clinician in India, presently in the Bay Area, relocated because family reasons, interested in the health tech space, presently not working, on a career break, and was thinking whether it is the right program for me. After listening all the speakers, I feel I should apply. I guess it's not really a question. So yes, Amita, we also feel you should apply. But if anybody else would like to raise their hands and ask a question, this is the time. Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Thank you to the panelists for taking the time to share experiences. I feel like it's very insightful. I'm relatively early in my career, so I feel like I'm still exploring all of these different options. I'm currently working in tech right now, but I know a topic of conversation was speaking to the different personas between folks who usually go down the MBA route versus the MCiM route. So I was more curious about how you knew the timing was right to engage in an MBA versus versus the MCiM program. Like, what factors were you weighing? I feel like a lot of folks around me are all like kind of thinking about graduate school, and I have friends doing an MBA right now. I'm kind of still stuck in the middle, so I'd just be curious to hear your thoughts on that.
So I can answer the question, Michelle. Think of your career as letter T. Okay. You can literally start with developing breadth-wise skills. And if that's your motivation, probably you could be well served by a GSB program at Stanford or another MBA program. But if you want to develop deep, specific healthcare, health tech specific expertise, there is no other program better than MCiM to provide that. Okay. And in today's world, given where we are, we didn't know what ChatGPT was about 24 months back and where we are right now. There is definitely a lot of need to develop that deep technical skill. When I say technical, not technology, but deep sector domain experience, expertise, there's tremendous value. How I know? Because I recruit on a daily basis. So
Yeah. No, there was a time when in the consulting world, just being a smart generalist was sufficient. I think it's very clear about 2 decades ago, things shifted from that to requiring deep domain knowledge. Otherwise, you wouldn't be invited into the room because there were enough smart people at the client organization who are ex-consultants. I think that's gotten even more accentuated where it's beyond just domain knowledge to specific functional knowledge within the domain. And so I think, I think, Michelle, give yourself time. You don't have to decide. You'll know when it's time when you could, use a pivot or, try a different path. And don't let these, overachievers really kind of make you feel like you have to do something, right away. Don't feel pressured. You'll know when it's time and you'll know which path. And despite the fact that this is a rigged jury with MCiM, put on by MCiM, I think there's, plenty of value in an MBA. I'm not just saying that because I'm the only one who wasn't admitted to MCiM. I think there's plenty of opportunities, and you'll know what's right. The only advice I might give you is that who you go to class with and spend so much time with and invest so much of your energy with does matter. And so I would definitely be discriminating about who you spend your time with.
Yeah, and I think, Tim, just one thing to add to that. Around, you mentioned, Michelle, just like time and career. I like when approaching the two, I would also consider MCiM being a potential pivot. Like I think in our year, we had a range of people who were like had just graduated undergrad and to like folks who had, were potentially thinking about doing their last job as the next step. And so a big part of it, I think, like for people who did it earlier, I think were folks that had been doing something that was not healthcare, and they're like, oh my God, I have to be doing something in healthcare. How do I switch as quickly as possible? Let me dive in. And I'd feel like the majority of us maybe we're somewhere in the middle of the careers where maybe a mix of folks who are like, I like what I'm doing, but I think I wanted like to like dive into something a little bit deeper, do something slightly different, like become a lot more technical in what I'm doing. Or like me, just like wanted to kind of supercharge what I was doing. Like no one was pushing me to do this. I do think some firms, depending on what you're going in, will say like you have to go to an MBA and leave and come back. But if no one is pushing you, like Tip said, like you'll have a gut feeling that it's the right time. And if you're enjoying what you're doing, there's no rush to go off and do something.
Thank you. I feel like I resonated so much with what you just said, Amanda, so I really appreciate that. And also to Balaji just for giving me some reassurance that I'm thinking about it the right way. So thank you. Thank you all.
We have time for one more question if anybody else would like to raise their hand.
Chris. Oh, where'd you go?
Hi. First of all, thank you, everyone. This is my third time watching. This is my second time live, and I watched one recorded, and I gotta say, still impressed with the overachiever. So I can't wait for the panel with the slackers to see if I fit better. But beside of this, my question I think is really more technical. As I know the program is 1 year, I was wondering for someone who might not be at your level, if you can absorb as much as you guys to complete this in 1 year. I don't know if it's too vague or someone have an idea how to answer that.
Yeah, let me just take that just because I think, I've seen now 5 classes of MCiM students come through. There's a pretty big range of experience, previous experience, with special domain knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the program is catered, for a lot of peer learning, a lot of group projects. I, for one, and I'm sure other folks as well, make it very clear that this isn't about getting, A pluses. It's about learning. What I say at the beginning of the class is, yeah, you could probably ChatGPT AI your way through my class and pass, but that's on you, not me, right? That if you want to squander your opportunity, that's your loss. And so I think when you have a cohort of peers that are there for a specific reason, and I'm sure if you choose to come to MCiM, you likewise will have a chosen mission for yourself. Then you will find the opportunities as great chances to build versus being sort of obligations or thresholds to pass. It's a very different mindset than I think what traditionally you think about in terms of school. And so hopefully that gives you comfort that you don't need to have the accomplishments and ambition and all of those special traits that our panelists currently have in order for you to succeed in the program.
Yeah, thank you. That really helped me, and well, be happy to continue my learning if I can join the next cohort.
Yeah. And I just have to give credit to Kevin Schulman, the program director, who miraculously created this program and has continued to just really build. He deserves a ton of credit for what he's done with this program. So Tatiana, back to you, right? Is there, I think that's about, we're close to time.
Yeah, we are about time. And I want to thank you all for coming. Tip, thank you so much for moderating this panel. It's been extremely valuable. Natalie, Tony, Balaji, Amanda is out already, but I want to thank you all for joining us today. This is being recorded, and I will be sharing this panel with everybody who has registered for this event. I will thank you again, and have a good night, everyone.